Your whole life's been a mirage, a carefully constructed illusion. They fooled you and they fooled me. We were sold this lie. Success requires years of relentless toil. Wealth is a lottery for the lucky few, and you need to be extraordinary to thrive. It's a sham. I discovered you can radically transform your life in just 30 days by applying fundamental universal principles. Sound unbelievable? That's exactly how I rebuilt my life from the ashes when I was lost and desolate. Ever notice how, despite your unwavering dedication, you feel stuck? Like an invisible barrier separates you from the life you crave. It's like some ethereal force constantly pulling you back whenever you try to move forward. I know that feeling intimately. I lived it for years. And let me tell you, that force exists, but it doesn't reside in the outside world. It lives in your mind. Napoleon Hill brilliantly described it. A powerful river of energy flows constantly. One bank leads to wealth and prosperity, the other to scarcity and misery. The current guiding you depends entirely on your daily thoughts. Seems overly simplistic, right? But consider this. How often do you catch yourself saying things like, "Money doesn't grow on trees," "I'm unlucky," or "It's impossible to get rich in my line of work"? Be honest, how do you feel after repeating those thoughts? Back then, I felt trapped. I made $4,000 a year, but owed $6,000. It was like running on a treadmill. The harder I worked, the less progress I made. I blamed the world, the lack of opportunities, my inadequate training. But the truth is, the current drowning me was fueled daily by my own negative thoughts. One day, a man handed me a book, Think and Grow Rich. I didn't believe everything I read, but I believed his belief, and that was enough for my first step. I started examining myself. I realized my thoughts were fixated on scarcity, debt, hardship. Then it hit me. If I kept feeding the wrong current, I'd only get more of the same. Have you considered that the inertia in your life might stem from constantly reinforcing that negative current? That every complaint about your salary, the government, the economy, or lack of time digs you deeper into scarcity? It's painful to admit, but liberating to realize you choose which current guides you. Don't expect overnight miracles. Changing the river's course takes practice and discipline, but I guarantee the results are swift. In just 1 year, I went from $4,000 annually to $15,000 monthly. Imagine the impact on your life. Imagine waking up without that nagging anxiety because you have the resources to solve it. Imagine the freedom to choose your work, or even to not work in the traditional sense. And a crucial point, it's not about intelligence or luck. I wasn't a genius. It's about steering your thoughts to the right bank of the river. So how do you begin? For the next 30 days, observe your thoughts about money, success, and prosperity. Every time a negative thought arises, instantly replace it with a positive affirmation, even if it feels forced. Simple phrases like, "I am capable of prosperity," or "Money flows to me in multiple ways." Don't underestimate the power of this exercise. It's like rowing vigorously toward abundance. Gradually, new situations will emerge. New people, unexpected opportunities, brilliant ideas. It was all there already, but you couldn't see it because you were stuck in the wrong current. If my life could change in a year, what's stopping you from taking that first step today? It's time to stop fighting the current and let it carry you where you've always wanted to go. There's a universal law governing the arrival of money, the law of compensation. It's infallible, impartial, and accepts no excuses. It dictates that your earnings are proportional to 3 factors: the usefulness of your work, your skill in performing it, and the difficulty of replacing you. Simple, yet powerful. If your work is useful, you become exceptional and irreplaceable. The money will inevitably follow. Most people believe their value isn't recognized by their boss, the unfair market, or the flawed system. But you don't need to worry about the latter 2 points of the law. The need for your work already exists. The difficulty of being replaced will naturally follow if you focus on the only aspect under your control, your skill. I learned this the hard way. I was frustrated at every job. Factories, gas stations, manual labor. I felt trapped, believing the world offered me no opportunities. But when I dedicated myself to improvement, even in simple tasks, doors began to open. It wasn't the market that changed. It was me. Ask yourself, how much time do you invest in your daily self-improvement? How many books do you read monthly in your field? How many new skills have you acquired in the last year? Statistics reveal that 70% of people stop learning after school or college. It's no coincidence that most face financial difficulties. Those who don't progress stagnate, and those who stagnate are easily replaceable. Look at Steve Jobs. Fired from Apple, he didn't give up. He refined his ideas, developed projects, returned stronger, and revolutionized the company and the world. He understood the law of compensation. It's not about what they take from you, but how much you grow until you become indispensable. Look around you. How many people complain about their salary but don't dedicate even an hour a week to self-improvement? It's like wanting to harvest without planting. The law of compensation doesn't reward complaints. It rewards results. If you're not satisfied with your earnings, it's because you're not yet good enough for the market to value you more. This doesn't diminish your personal worth. It indicates where to direct your energy. I discovered that imagined competition was an illusion. My only adversary was myself. My goal was to improve daily, and when I realized it, my uniqueness made me irreplaceable. For the next 30 days, choose a skill related to your job or life goal and commit to improving it daily, even if it's just for 30 minutes. It's impossible to apply this without noticing changes because the law of compensation doesn't fail. If everything hinges on your growth, there's no point in complaining or waiting for external changes. The power is in your hands. Are you willing to become so good that you become irreplaceable? The trap everyone falls into is believing that trading time for money is the only way to live. That's the model learned in childhood. Study, get a good job, work hard, earn by the hour, by the month, or by the task. But there's a problem. Time is finite. You have 24 hours a day, and no matter how efficient you are, there will come a time when you have no more hours to sell. That's the harsh truth that 96% of the population ignores, and that's why they're trapped in an endless race. I lived that reality for years. I sold my time at gas stations, in factories, in repetitive jobs, believing that effort would bring improvements. But the more hours I dedicated, the more tired and indebted I became. It's like running on a treadmill. You wear yourself out, but stay in the same place. How many times have you felt that? Working hard, coming home exhausted, and at the end of the month barely managing to pay the bills? The big mistake is thinking that the only variable is time. By believing this, you accept a limit to your income, and that limit isn't financial, it's mental. People who trade hours for money rarely imagine a life where money flows in other ways. Therefore, they remain trapped in a cycle of frustration, believing that the only way out is a salary increase or more overtime. But even a raise has a limit, and the body can't withstand indefinite exploitation. Think of the people you know. How many live on overtime, double shifts, side hustles on weekends? They sacrifice health, family, rest, but fail to build a life of abundance. If this model worked, most would be rich since most follow it. What do you conclude from this? Trading time for money is a limited strategy that condemns you to stagnation. Only upon realizing this could I change my destiny. I understood that I needed to find ways to generate value without directly depending on my hours. This doesn't mean working less, but working smarter, investing in knowledge and strategies that would allow me to create leverage. Imagine having an income stream that flows even while you sleep, waking up and discovering you've earned money without being physically present. That's the difference between those who trade time for money and those who seek new ways to generate wealth. For 30 days, every time you think about money, ask yourself, does this directly depend on my time or could it work without me? If it depends on your time, it's a trap. If you can think of ways to generate value without your constant presence, you've already begun to break the chain that binds 96% of the population. I clearly remember the day I realized this difference. I was exhausted from work, and I realized that if I got sick, everything would stop. There was no security, no future. It was painful but liberating. I understood that I needed to find another path, and that decision opened the doors to everything I achieved afterward. Until when will you continue trading hours of your life for a few pennies? Until when will you accept living in a losing equation? Because time doesn't multiply. The question isn't, how much more can I work, but how can I make money work for me instead of being its slave? There's a second strategy that opens doors to greater possibilities: investing money to make money. Only 3 out of every 100 people do this correctly, and it's no coincidence that they live above average. While most sell time, these people multiply their resources. But the detail almost nobody notices. Investing isn't about having a lot of money, it's about knowing how to make money multiply. I've met many people who worked hard, saved, and when they finally managed to save a little, they tried to invest without knowledge. Guess what happened? They lost everything. Not because investing doesn't work, but because they believed that it was enough to put money somewhere and wait for miracles. It's like trying to fly a plane without ever having studied aviation. The result is disastrous. Accumulating money isn't enough. If you don't know how to make that money circulate intelligently, it slips through your fingers. That's why so many celebrities and athletes, even earning fortunes, ended up bankrupt. Think of Mike Tyson, for example. During his career, he earned over $300 million, but not understanding the basic principles of wealth creation and preservation, he lost practically everything. This shows that it doesn't matter how much you earn, it matters how you think and what you do with what you receive. Now think of Warren Buffett, one of the greatest investors in history. He didn't get rich because he worked longer hours, but because he understood how to multiply every penny that passed through his hands. He learned early on the most important rule: it's not about how much you earn, it's about how you make money work for you. Maybe you're thinking, but I don't have enough money to invest. That's the objection I hear most, and the truth is, thinking like that is precisely what keeps most people trapped. The act of investing doesn't begin with large sums. It begins with mindset. When you understand that every penny can be a seed, you start treating money differently. And it's not just about stocks or real estate. Investing can mean acquiring knowledge that multiplies your opportunities, creating a small side project, or even using part of what you have to open paths that generate returns. I myself have had times when I had practically nothing. I was in debt, with no prospects. If I had waited to accumulate a large sum to begin, I'd still be waiting today. But when I learned to direct even the small resources I had, I realized that the game wasn't about the size of the investment, but about the clarity of the strategy. Recent research from Stanford University has shown that people who learn basic financial literacy are up to 60% more likely to significantly increase their earnings over their lifetime. This confirms that it's not luck, it's applied knowledge. When you become financially literate, you cease to be easy prey in a world where so many lose everything because they don't know how to handle money. The simple fact that you're listening to this now already puts you ahead of the majority, because 97% of people never stop to reflect on how to invest consciously. They spend, lose, repeat patterns, and at most, complain about the system. But the 3% who stand out decided to break that cycle and learned how to make money grow. Think, if even people who earned millions lost everything by not applying these principles, what could happen to those who are still building their path but ignore this knowledge? And more importantly, how would your life be different if you started today to see each resource as an opportunity for multiplication instead of just survival? There's a very small group of people who have discovered the third strategy for generating wealth, and this is where true transformation happens. Only 1% of the population uses this method, but they concentrate about 96% of all the money circulating in the world. It's not coincidence, it's not luck, and it's not magic. This group understood something simple and powerful: multiple income streams. Most people confuse this with multiple jobs, but working in 2, 3, or 4 different places isn't having multiple income streams. It's just wearing down your body on several fronts. The real secret is to build independent money channels that continue flowing even when you're not present. This means creating systems, businesses, assets, and structures that work for you. It's the difference between being a slave to time and putting time to work for you. I learned this almost by accident. In the beginning, I just wanted an income that would pay off my debts. But when I realized that one source could work even without my constant presence, I started thinking, what if I create another one and another? Gradually, I built a model where, while I was giving a lecture or participating in a seminar, other income channels were active, I no longer depended on a single stream. This was the turning point that gave me real freedom. Stop and reflect. How many times have you been terrified just imagining losing your job? How many times has your heart raced thinking about how you would pay the bills if your only source of income were cut off? This happens because you're leaning on a single pillar, and any structure that rests on only one point is always vulnerable to collapse. When you create multiple income streams, something incredible happens. The anxiety goes away. You no longer depend on a single salary, a single client, a single opportunity. You have options, and freedom is born from options. That's why the wealthiest don't live in panic, even in the face of crises. They know that if one source decreases, others remain active. Look at the example of Oprah Winfrey. She didn't limit herself to her television show. She created companies, magazines, digital platforms, strategic partnerships. Each of these initiatives became an independent income stream, and together they created an empire. The secret wasn't working longer hours, but diversifying intelligently. Today, it's easier than ever to create multiple streams. With the internet, you can build digital businesses, invest in different areas, create products, provide automated services, or even work with affiliate marketing. The limit isn't in external opportunities, but in your ability to see and act. When I started expanding my channels, I realized I didn't need to be an expert in everything. I could have partners, teams, collaborators. This not only multiplied my income, but also freed up my time. Because multiple income streams don't mean multiple worries. They mean multiplying results while you focus on what really matters. Do a simple exercise. Imagine your life today with just one more income stream in addition to the one you already have. Maybe start small, a few $100s. However, imagine the impact on your finances, the immediate relief it would provide. Now, visualize 3, 4, or even 5 income streams. Notice the radical transformation in your financial situation in a short period. That's the difference between the constant apprehension of losing everything and the security of continuous abundance. The true journey to prosperity begins when you understand that depending on a single source is surrendering to insecurity, while diversifying your sources paves the way to controlling your future. The world today is very different from 10, 20, or 50 years ago. The rules have changed and continue to change at a dizzying speed, incomprehensible to many. Alvin Toffler said something that marked my life. The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. This has never been as crucial as it is now. Many people remain trapped in an outdated mindset. They were taught to believe that the safe path was to study, secure a stable job, work for decades, and retire comfortably. But look around you. How many people followed this plan and still live anxious, indebted, or dissatisfied? How many retired to discover that they can't maintain their desired lifestyle? The problem isn't the failure of these people, but the fact that the game has changed, and they continue to use obsolete rules. I myself had to unlearn a lot. When I dropped out of school, I believed it was the end, that without a diploma, there was no future. The feeling of failure was painful, like a sentence to hard labor without prospects. But over time I realized that true education goes beyond classrooms. It arises when you choose to learn what the world demands to prosper. Unlearning was fundamental. I had to abandon the idea that only people with titles could get rich, and relearning showed me that what generates opportunities is the capacity for adaptation, to absorb new knowledge and apply it quickly. Today, the world seeks something completely different. It demands flexibility, creativity, and openness to new things. Those who cling to old certainties fall behind. Just look at giant companies that dominated markets and disappeared for not adapting. Blockbuster, for example, was a giant in entertainment but refused to change with the technological evolution in film consumption. Meanwhile, Netflix, which started small, understood the new rules and became a global powerhouse. The difference wasn't the initial size, but the ability to learn, unlearn, and relearn. And this applies to your life. How many times have you clung to phrases like, "I've always done it this way," or "This doesn't work for me"? Each time, you close doors to new opportunities. The truth is, regardless of what you already know or have achieved, If you're not willing to update your way of thinking, you will remain trapped in ineffective patterns. Want to triple your lifetime earnings? Harvard Business School research shows that consistently developing new skills boosts your earning potential by a whopping 70%. It's not about sticking to the same old routine. It's about constantly reinventing yourself. Think of it as a superpower. Each new skill gives you a significant edge, a secret weapon most people never unlock because they're afraid to leave their comfort zone. Change is scary. I get it. Stepping into the unknown feels risky. But isn't clinging to outdated methods even riskier? What if learning something new unlocks opportunities you never dreamed possible? I'm a firm believer in lifelong learning. I'm constantly evolving, constantly upgrading my skills. The world's moving fast, and if you stop learning, you'll get left behind. That's the difference between thriving and just surviving. Financial abundance isn't about brute strength. It's about adaptability. Imagine dedicating just 30 days to mastering a new skill that could boost your career or open new doors. Maybe it's a hot new tech skill, mastering a financial strategy, or even just honing your communication skills. You'll be surprised by what you can achieve. The world's changing. That's a given. The question is, will you change with it, or will you cling to the past, hoping a broken system will magically fix itself? It's not about luck, timing, or external factors. It's about your mindset. It's about your willingness to learn and adapt, to embrace abundance instead of scarcity. That's the real bottom line. Ready to embark on this journey of self-improvement, even if it's just a little each day? Then stick around for the next video. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.